What's going on, guys? Proof here, bringing you another play-by-play video. This time I'm bringing you my Seal Dragon Nouvelle deck against an Aquaforce deck. The main thing about this deck is to use the Seal Dragon engine with their Seal Dragon Counterblast to try and superiorize up the Cruel Dragon as soon as possible so I can get to Nouvelle as soon as possible. My opponent starts off riding off the Penguin that lets you Soul Blast to draw a card. And then on my turn, you see my hand already has Cruel Dragon in it and Nouvelle in it. So all I need is to either get a Seal Dragon into the damage zone to be able to set off Terry Cloth so I can efficiently get up to Cruel Dragon. Or I have Dauntless in here as well just to be able to have a backup grade 3 ride in case I do miss Cruel Dragon, because Dauntless Nouvelle is still pretty much a threat. So on my opponent's turn, he rides Lucas and then brings out Tidal Assault, and so that already puts me into a little bit of a bind because he uses his Bubble Dragon to give it to the other Tidal Assault to be able to fill up his hand again after he attacks more than 4 times. And so he attacks me unboosted. My plan here was to try and get a trigger just to help me out, because as you can see from my hand, I have very, very minimal guard to be able to survive or be able to counteract his turn. So I get one on the second damage check, which helps out against Lucas here. So I'll go ahead and no guard that and risk the trigger here. He gets a crit, but gives it all to Tidal Assault. So now it's going to attack twice with 2 critical. I guard the first one with the Arch Pick that's in my hand. And after he stands back up and attacks again, as you're going to be able to see that I think on this for a little bit. My thinking behind is that I could guard myself from the attack by using the Nouvelle Roman that's in my hand, or I could take the damage and then be able to superior ride the Cruel Dragon the next turn, since I have Critic in my hand, and be able to retire most of his field through Cruel Dragon's Limit Break along if I don't hit a heal trigger. So I risk the heal and then I go ahead and take the damage. As you can see, I did not get the heal trigger, so my plan is to go into action. I ride to Corduroy and use that Rhino Cross to retire his back row, because if he gets a grade 2, that's fine. If he doesn't, then I still get the free retire out of it, since I have enough counterblast to be able to utilize it. I'm going to be using a lot of counterblast in this turn just because his field is stacked against mine, and I don't have nearly as much to protect myself the following turn if I let it all stay there. So I call out Nouvelle Critic, retire the newly Tidal Assault that comes out, get my superior right up the Cruel Dragon, and then be able to call out Dauntless to the opposite rear guard circle just to start punishing his rear guards. At the time, I didn't know he had the heal trigger in his hand, so I'm surprised he didn't use it to try and protect one of his Tidal Assaults during the early portion before my attack. And so I attack the rear guard with my Critic, so just get a little bit more advantage out of it. I decide to Limit Break here. I decide to kill off the Sailor in the back because I know that's his Unflipper, and I also know that I have the ability to attack his front row Tidal Assault and get it out the way prior to him being able to use it again. So first check is a crit. I give the power to Dauntless, of course, and then I actually double crit him on this one, which helps mitigate some of the damage that he did to me the previous turn to even it back up. And now I go in with Dauntless. What I did in here was that I attacked the Vanguard. What I really should have done was go after the Tidal Assault, even with the boosted power from it, because I either would have gotten him to drain a card out of his hand, one of the 10Ks. I knew he had the crit there. I didn't know about the heal, or I would have gotten rid of Tidal Assault, which would have helped cut down ease of use for Tetra Drive here, unless he drew into another one with the Penguin here. So what I should have done was I should have went on ahead and taken out the Tidal Assault if I could, because it was a plus for me anyway, because I knew I was going to be riding up to Nouvelle the next turn, which would have negated any kind of damage trigger he tried to get the following turn. So he rides Tetra Drive, plays his Penguin, draws another card, plays out Basil, and then he uses the draw trigger that the Margall clone, I forget his name right now. He gives the power to wield or to Tidal Assault. I'm not sure why he did that, considering that I had an 11k Vanguard. He could have forced another card out of my hand with Basil. So to me, that's a misplay on his part, even though he does get the 4 attacks off for Tetra Drive. And so first Basil doesn't hit. I decided to pass the Vanguard here. No harm, no foul there really, since I have the secondary critical in my hand. Whiffs on the first check. And then with Lucas, he goes into my rear guard. I have to take this because even if he does get to draw the card, it's better to get that out the way, because at the end of it, I still would have probably used the intercept. Well, if I was going to use the intercept anyway, I should have guarded just to prevent him getting the card into his hand, but he ends up drawing the heel trigger. And then with Tidal Assault, I take the attack because I pretty much have to in this case, just to try and conserve hand just a little bit more. It hits, he gets his 4 attacks off, and he stands back up with Tetra Drive. He discarded the heel that he ended up drawing. I could see why he did it, but I figured he was going to try and keep the Basil in his hand, even though I did have Nouvelle impending since he had the intercepts and whatever he got off this drive check here. And then gets the draw trigger, draws into, and then the grade 3 as well. So he pretty much lost nothing from using Tetra Drive just now. And then I have to PG the last attack, since I had no more 10Ks in my hand to defend myself. And then on my next turn, I ride to Nouvelle just because A, it's hilariously good, and B, the 13k base is a very huge detriment to Aquaforce, because most attacks are based off 11k Vanguards. So attack with Nouvelle. He 2-passes me with his intercepts and the card that he drew off of his draw trigger, and I end up hitting Arch Pick myself, give all the power to Dauntless here, and I just go ahead and go for the Vanguard. And then on his next turn, sorry if I sound tired, I'm just waking up, and I don't have work today, so I figured I'd get you guys a video going out. On his next turn, he plays out Basil, plays out the Unflipper, and unflips his damage, so Tetra Drive is live again. And this time he plays out the draw trigger again and soul charges it, and this time he gives the power to Basil. I still don't know why he didn't do it the last turn, because that one card could have meant the difference between him winning and me losing, since I had very minimal guard, since I was left with just Nouvelle in my hand. He attacks with Basil. I guard with the Arch Pick in my hand this time. It's going to come close. It's going to come to the wire on this one. And this time he attacks boosted with his Vanguard, and I drop the 10k. No, I'm sorry. I play Cursey into the Guardian Circle because I have to risk the trigger since my hand is so low. And he ends up pulling 2 non-triggers, which is fine with me because it helps me survive a little bit more, because it's do or die at this point unless I check a heal trigger on 6 damage, which isn't as likely anymore. So Tidal Assault coming in with 14, I guard with the critic, and then he attacks again just to get his 4th attack off to leave the secondary Tetra Drive unboosted, or to keep it standing so he could pass it triggers and have that last attack off. And I know at this point if he hits a trigger, I'm dead, so I risk it on Nouvelle's bulky body to get me through. And first check Transcore and PG, and that pretty much seals the deal there, just because I can guard this next attack, and if I draw any kind of attacker that's a grade 2 or above, I can attack into Tidal Assault, and then his PG has to be used on Nouvelle, and I get the Corduroy. So I'll call Corduroy. I can't use his skill, and I probably wouldn't do it even if I could, unless I was going to target a back row. But I call it out, And I know that pretty much seals me the game because I can attack his rear guard with Corduroy, get it out the way. And then he has the perfect guard, my Nouvelle attack, or he can just end the game and not attack it because he doesn't have cross ride level status. And I'd still check a Gatling Claw, give the power to Dauntless just to rub a little bit more salt into it. At least it wasn't a critical, but that'll do it there. I get the win. It was close. I think what turned the tide for me was him getting that crit and me deciding to take the damage because it helped burn down his field, which ate into his hand more. So, because even if he did have bubble edge, even if he did draw off a bubble edge, I should say, the fact that I was able to destroy his field along the way kind of negated the fact that he drew off a bubble edge. What I should have done was take out that tile assault before he rode the Tetra drive, or at least try to, because he would have had one less 10k in his hand or one less rear guard. And he definitely would have protected it because it's tile assault and it helps set the whole big play into motion. But that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know how I did. Let me know what you think of the deck. Let me know what you think about my opponent. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll try to bring some more play-by-play videos in the future. Later, guys.